Hello, everyone. Welcome to this symposium. I would first like to acknowledge and thank Leila Muslimi Mehni, who is the PhD candidate and the coordinator for the symposium. Leila, thank you very much for gathering this impressive group of quite interesting artists to talk to us. I would also like to extend our collective gratitude to Dr. Mir-Djalali, who is attending the symposium, for the exceptional opportunity at the University of Toronto and the Elahé Omidyar Mir-Djalali Institute of Iranian Studies that is sponsoring this program. I am also grateful to my professor, my boss, Dr. Tawakkoli Talqi, Muhammad Tawakkoli Talqi, whose initiative has allowed us to run all of these magnificent programs, and my colleague Sophia and Bilal, who has been helping us with every sort of coordination for these kinds of interesting programs. Now, before I pass it along to our moderator, Negar Bani Safar, who's also a PhD student here at the department, I would like to acknowledge the land on which the University of Toronto operates. That for thousands of years, it's been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credits. And it now continues to be home to many Indigenous peoples from across the Turtle Island. We are grateful for the opportunity to work on this land. Now, Nigarjan, I'm passing it off to you, and then you can start and introduce our artists and researchers, and then we can go on to the presentations. I hope you guys stick around. The Q&A session will be at the end of all of the presentations, and you can open your mics and participate or post your questions, and we will make sure they're answered.
Thank you very much, Amran. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm so grateful to be moderating today's session. Before I start introducing our first speaker, I would like to note that, I would like to stress what Shabnam just mentioned, that the Q&A part will be at the very end of the session. So please feel free to leave your comments in the chat box and specify to whom you're addressing your question. Or it would be much preferred if you could raise your hand, unmute, and ask the question yourself. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Arma Yari. Arma Yari is an Iranian-Canadian interdisciplinary artist currently pursuing a PhD in the Electronic Arts program at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Her approach is based on the incorporation of both social issues and scientific methodologies that revolve around the notions of perception and reality. She is frequently interested in creating immersive spaces that lead a momentary expansion of consciousness, allowing the viewer to recapture a sense of wonder through adopting temporary freedom from our habitual perceptions. Arma's current research relies on the creation of artistic case studies through data visualization to examine sociopolitical crises at the intersection of gender, class, political subjectivities, and disinformation efforts. Armajan, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much for the great introduction. I'm just going to share my screen. So you can now see my PowerPoint, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. It's an honor to have this opportunity to present some of my past works as well as what I'm working on right now. So in my art practice, I am very much interested in integrating light, sculptural objects, and proximity sensors, or any sort of interactive technology to create immersive spaces. I am interested in the expression of the mundus imaginalis, which was coined by Henry Corbin, a friend and colleague of Jung, And it's basically a realm where invisible realities become visible and corporeal entities are spiritualized, allowing the psyche to move beyond the limiting constraints of one-sided ego. And many scholars use this concept to study Iranian architecture. I also connect to my heritage through the use of Iranian architectural elements. Geometry in Islamic and pre-Islamic architecture of Iran employs the possibilities of perceiving and understanding realities that are not available to the rational mind. And this series, which I created in 2015, entitled A Chemical Love Story, I placed strobing LED lights, geometric patterns made of neon lights, and photographs of brain MRI scans between a regular mirror and a one-way mirror inside 11 distinct shadow boxes. And this created a seemingly endless series of reflections of objects that were situated between the mirrors. You can see the video documentation of this series on my website. Because we don't have much time, I'm going to skip that documentation. And in my other works, I have this one here, Can You Pass the Acid Test? Or 3.5 to 7.5 hertz, Alter Your Mind, and Alter. These are four distinct projects where I connected the divide between respecting tradition and welcoming innovation, art and science, and the material and immaterial. And I extended my research on Mundus Imaginalis to a broader study of object-subject discussed in neuroscience and psychology, namely the limits of sensory organs and the brain mechanisms in constructing the outer world. And these works I borrowed through fusion of color and textures, sensory motifs from Iranian mysticism, as well as psychedelic counterculture, which accounts for altered states of consciousness and euphoric and transcendental experiences. Another recurring theme in my installation is the tension between tradition and modernity in Iran, the combination of Iranian geometric ornaments, mirror work, which is commonly found in spaces of great cultural significance, such as shrines, and also holographic vinyl and electronics. They all aim to portray the fragmented self of today's Iranian. That is really the contrast between the public and private life of Iranians. The totalitarian Islamic State expects Iranians to follow Islamic codes and conducts when many Iranians are really secular in their private life. And I think that is what is unique about Iran among other Middle Eastern countries. And I'm interested in this tension on a deeper historical level. And since the Muslim conquest of Persia in 600 AD, Iran has undergone the ongoing tension between what you might say Zoroastrian values or ancient Iranian values and Islamic values. And I think it's very well manifested in recent anti-regime protests when women were burning their headscarves. And I think this ritual of setting fire and gathering around it is very much alive in the subconsciousness of many Iranians, as fire is sacred in Zoroastrianism, the ancient pre-Islamic religion of Persia. And just looking at these images that came out from this protest, I was thinking of our ancient rituals, for example, Azadeh, which is which celebrates 50 days before Nowruz, Persian New Year. And so accordingly, my installation, which I built in 2019, entitled Sonati Sanity, pinpoints a disorientation in the consciousness of time and space induced by existing in between the past and the present. The signs are written in Persian, and we read Sonati on the right and Sanity on the left, which basically is translated to traditional and industrial. And I think it's quite familiar, humorous expression in between Iranians when the two words which sound very similar in Persian, when they're used together, it really makes this expression to describe someone who is behaving uncontrollably under the influence of a combination of plant-based drugs and synthetic drugs. So I'm using that humorous expression to talk about the broader cultural issue. As this expression extends to all Iranians' understanding of traditions and modernity. And correspondingly, the materials that I use in this installation reflect this combination of traditions, like Persian rug and the mirror work. You can't really see the rug carpet in this photo. You can see it here, kind of, sort of, and mirror work, or ayna kari, as we call it in Persian, which is really putting together small pieces of mirror in a geometric order, and also the use of a more industrial, you may call it, materials like LED lights and this holographic vinyls on the wall. I later became interested, just thinking about perception and reality, I became interested in ways quantum mechanics approach and reflect on the mechanisms of reality through challenging this perspective that you can predict the entire future history of the world from its present state. And this was actually my thesis for the for MFA I was doing at York in 2020. And there is also a video documentation of this on my website. This is an interactive installation where I combined proximity sensors, sculptural objects, and electronic devices like lights and vibration motors to communicate a theory in quantum mechanics, which emerged in the late 1950s, originated by Hugh Everett, to talk about how the universe branches off every second to create these parallel universes. And this theory is known as many words interpretation of quantum mechanics. Okay, so my past works, I'm going to take some time talking about my current research, which is centered on the aesthetics of control, manipulation, and oppression in totalitarian states. And to do this, I examine the characteristics of totalitarianism, which is a political system that emerged in the 20th century in the Soviet Union and later in Nazi Germany. A defining characteristic of totalitarianism that distinguishes it from classical dictatorship is the notion of masses or crowds. It's basically, and I'm looking at works by Gustave Le Bon, especially his Crowd Study of the Popular Mind, which was published in 1895. He was the first person who brought together the literature on crowds, on psychology of the collective. And it was he was inspired by a century of turmoil in a revolutionary France. And he he defines crowd as collective thought processes that lead a society to have blind and a contradictory belief in what seems absurd to human intelligence and common sense under normal circumstances. And so he says that crowd is a specific kind of group. It's distinguished featured by far-reaching uniformization of individuals, and in the crowds, everyone becomes equal to everyone else, and people tend to think together. They identify with the same ideas, and individual soul is in the masses is completely taken over by the group soul. And also Hannah Arendt and The Origins of Totalitarianism, where she talks about the totalitarianism systems in the Soviet Union and Germany under Hitler, she talks about the willingness of the crowds, the individuals, to blindly sacrifice their personal interest in favor of the collective, and this radical intolerance of dissident voices, also being vulnerable to the absurd pseudoscientific indoctrination and propaganda, and following of a narrow logic that transcends all ethical boundaries, and the loss of diversity and creativity. And I'm studying all of these works to understand the Islamic Revolution of 1979, as I think the masses, the crowds, played an important role in bringing the Islamic State to power. And so this is the work that I created, I showed last May at Color Works in New York, after the Shah left. And this was, so the text is translated to The Shah is Gone in Persian. And it's the most famous, supposedly most famous headline, newspaper headline in Iranian history. I think every Iranian would instantly recognize this title. It appeared on the front cover of several Iranian newspapers when the Shah of Iran left the country on January 16, 1979. And I see this headline as the society's most prominent manifestation of masses or crowds, as the masses demanded the Shah's departure and return of Khomeini from his French exile. They wanted to replace Iran's constitutional monarchy with the theocratic regime. And so I laser cut the headline and used the interior space of the text to collage digital prints of photographs referencing Iran's social and political unrest after the Islamic Revolution and the atrocities that emerged from the phenomenon of mass formation. So very quickly, because we read from right to left in Persian, this image is starting from the top. You can see people holding the front cover of the newspaper with the famous headline, "The Shah is gone." And then these are images of revolutionaries committing atrocities on the streets of Tehran and other cities. The ministers, the generals of the Shah regime being executed, the mass executions of Kurdish Iranians, and then the different various anti-regime protests, and the victims. You can see the images here. And the last work that I want to show, it's a work in progress, and it's going to be exhibited at MPAC in New York sometime soon. We don't have a schedule yet, but it's based on the celebration of the 2500th anniversary of the founding of the Persian Empire, or جشن‌های 2500 ساله, which was a grand festival organized by the late Shah of Iran in October 1971. The festival took place near Persepolis, the ancient capital of Persia, and featured a series of art and cultural events that brought together hundreds of guests internationally. The festival was intended to showcase Iran's cultural heritage and promote tourism and the Iranian cultural consciousness and a strong sense of national identity founded on emphasizing pre-Islamic Iranian history. It really fostered a feeling of uniqueness and respect from the international community. And so what I did last summer, I traveled to Iran and I went to Persepolis in Shiraz. And there used to be a tent village built next to, like very close to Persepolis. You can see it here, where the guests stayed for the duration of these festivals. The remains of this tent city, the tent village, are still there. You can see the skeletons of these tents. And I did a video documentation of this tent. You can see it on the right, and then on the left side are the archival footage of the actual festivals. Okay, this goes on for 10 minutes. I know we don't have time to play everything, but this is, as I said, work in progress. There will be an interactive component that will be added later on to communicate this sense of melancholy or tension between the past and present and what is remained of the past. And I'm just going to wrap up here and very briefly talk about what is going to happen next. I'm pursuing my PhD dissertation, where I will be visualizing Iran protests since 2017. I'm interested in year 2017 because I think that marks a time when the protests really shifted from reform-oriented demonstrations to explicit anti-regime ideals. So the protests in Iran have always been usually met with the systematic shutdown of internet services by the state. And so when there is no internet, there is no information. And I call this information vacuum a digital darkness. And my doctoral research and art practice is an attempt to shed light on the truth. My dissertation operates in the gaps between data science, media art, and digital culture studies to present the workings of oppressive states in obscuring, misrepresenting, and subverting reality, while providing a nuanced understanding of resistance patterns, dynamics, and atrocities at the intersection of class, gender, and political subjectivities. So to make the invisible visible in the face of digital darkness, computational research tools and techniques like data processing and visualization, I think is very much necessary to understand the large scale and speed and diversity of contemporary cultural and media production. And empirically, the research relies on the collection and processing of open source data, online data, like public data, through statistical models to explore the atrocities of the Iranian protests, and the creative component aims to communicate visualized data sets through an immersive and interactive art installation, and that is what I'm working on right now. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Arma Jan, for this wonderful presentation. Our next speaker is Nina Rastgar. Nina was born in 1988 and raised in northern Iran amongst an ethnic group of Gilaki-speaking natives in Gilan's Green and Lush province. Currently, Nina is a second-year MFA student and graduate assistant at the University of South Carolina, Columbia, specializing in studio art. Selected as a presidential fellow, their research focuses on conceptual strength, emphasizing the intersection of art with psychology, political science, climate issues, and cultural context. Apart from painting and sculpting, Nina employs their body as a tool for performance art, aiming to establish deeper interactions between art and society, expressing profound self-reflection and societal commentary through visual means. Nina's journey in metalwork began with the delicate craft of jewelry making, where they honed skills in shaping metals such as silver, brass, and copper. These tactile processes form the foundation of their artistic practice, emphasizing the physicality of crafting three-dimensional objects. As their creative exploration deepened, Nina became increasingly interested in incorporating found objects into their work, layering meanings to decode shared life experiences and create evocative scenes. Nina John?
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to talk to you. Thank you for taking the time to sit down and listen. It means a lot to me. So, as Negar said, I'm a second-year student, presidential fellow, teacher assistant at the University of South Carolina. I have been TA in a jewelry course since 2022 when I just arrived America. So my major and practice are sculpture, drawing and painting. I do some performance as well. So I'm kind of old school. And I start with sketching to trigger my imagination and ideas. So I put my sketches here. So I think drawing relates to the context and subject matter that I express in a sculpture. That's why everything is interconnected. I understand myself as a conceptual studio artist. So I'm going to talk about three sections now of my practice: drawing, sculpture, and performance. So I order images based on subjects, sequence, series. Might we categorize it as a representational work of art? I don't know. So I will talk about a couple of them. So for me, drawing and sketching are ways of thinking about my environment. It reflects my state of being. They are like seeing, thinking, feeling, responding consciously and unconsciously to everything I face with. Last week, I watched a documentary about Louis Bourgeois, as you know, the French-American artist. She described drawing as a way of psychological release. And I think it has a healing process. So 2 of my sketchbooks are at subsequent touring venues by the Royal Ontario Museum. The curator of the Islamic Ward is Fahmida Salman, yeah. And she's living in Toronto, and she's a thoughtful, clever, generous person I've met. And like everyone here, I grew up in religiously conservative government with deeply imposed cultural and social norms, which made me fight back every day, like many people in my life, in my way. So I have uncovered the raw emotions of understanding extreme social inequality in my life. So I think that's why my drawing is like that. So I put 2 picture here because I think I cannot completely detached from the past. I meet the past to address my present as progress, not nostalgia. So I was born in north of Iran, so I put 2 photos from many that my father took. He was a documentary photographer, filmmaker, socialist, who he focused on the working class and farmers, in general, marginalized people in north of Iran. And he was in the jail before and after revolution. I mean, during the Shah regime and after, during the Islamic regime. So my mother was a teacher. They inspired me differently in how I see the world, about the pain of others, empathy, solidarity, with my visual language. I'm gonna go to this work. On the right side, the picture was taken by my father, as I said before, in Gilan. So this work was my first collaboration with the photographer. So he was my father. So it started when I became more interested in collaboration to feed my mind and concept, building my story by using my body as a performer. So also, I did my bachelor degree in agriculture engineering for 3.5 years. So it does make sense. I imagine myself in a farmer market and intentionally place myself in that community that I really like. So I'm going to talk about my sculpture. Found object and material sometime influenced my daily life, so which plays in my work. And I've seen object in a space as a dynamic medium that catches my mind. So during the pandemic in 2020, I was in Iran, so I showed my state of feeling, like anger, like low energy, because of the lack of communication and isolation that I felt. So, and as you know, isolation is kind of a stigma in society that's programmed by politics. So I'm using media and diverse material to address my experience when my hands and mind work together and make something, touchable with the everyday object. And on the other hand, it reminds me of gardening and cultivating seeds, which were part of every day of my life. I hope it does make sense, but it's kind of healing process when you touch nature. And now I want to go. And before that, on the left side, the idea for this work came from my experience, like witnessing violence and atrocity, which are implied by government. And I'm gonna go to next series. Next series, it's about my metal work. I've been working on metal and wax modeling since 2015 when I was in Iran. So I earned money and then I practice a lot. So when I came to America, they got me job. So as a TA, as I mentioned, I continued my practice of, you know, raising and forging metal like copper, brass, silver. So I made this work, and I like to talk about this work because I made this work during the Xinjiang movement, women life freedom. So I was trying to conceptualize that everyone depends on others. And the more diverse the system, the more stable it is. So my empathy between people taps into a deep understanding and connection with their experience, because we all experience that. And this work is about realizing the value of shared emotion in movement among people that I wasn't in there because I just watching that. So one of my inspiration was Parvin Ehtesami, an Iranian 21st century poet. Her poems have social and human concept, and I etched one line of her poetry along the tube that you see along the tube surface attached to the bullet on the top. So, and it was, you know, it was stretching to people's body, as you see. And I couldn't translate them, the poet. So I'm sorry, the poems. I'm sorry, because I didn't have that much time. So I'm gonna go to next and show you some of my metal work. So all of them I exhibited at the, you know, museum and gallery during 2 years. Now I like to jump into my performance. I hope you had time to just look at them. So I picked out 4 of my last performative photography. So because I focused on showing the state of being invisible. So each project involves creating object, which is rich in context and inviting other artists to contribute with their perspective with me, you know. And this exchange environment helped me to kind of broaden my understanding of that narrative. So I put this work because it was about 2020. I was in Iran. It was about 2020. I was in Iran. I was thinking about this project, and I started 2021. So I made a cube mask with the mirror on all 4 sides, and which is placed on the on the head of the female's performer. For 3 days, she made a living with the mask, and on the streets, in the market, where the place, you know that place where the visual form comes from binary ideas. So I took all the picture and documented, and you know, I took some people's reaction, and then I collaborated with one of my friends, queer friends. She's living in Toronto, and she directed and kind of edited a video art of this performance, and we showed the video in the Columbia Museum last year. So because we didn't have that much time, I didn't I didn't put my video here. I'm gonna jump to the next project, and I see my letters, kind of all the title that I put remove. I'm so sorry, but I'm doing my best to describe that. So it's about hijab. It's performative photography. It's collaboration. So one of my friends came and took the pictures, and so in this work, 3 blurred, faceless women merge into one object, which cannot be identified as different, as you see. I was inspired by understanding inequality, like everyone, and how women rely on each other, experience, resistance, and stories. So this allow me to express social, social capital visuality. If I do, I think I was trying to create a sense of community through this work. This is better sentences. And I think this work, Royal Museum, Rom Museum, showed this work on their Instagram. And I'm gonna go next one. The next one, it's about bride and puppet. Last summer, I was in Iran, so I usually do projects when I go travel. So I perform as a bride, placed myself in the picture as an object besides puppets. So it's a decoration for a society of others. It's about becoming a woman before we tend to be, and at home, in private moments, from childhood to adulthood, every moment we make, every thought we think, are evaluated by cultural social norms. So I think I'm trying to criticizing social contract. And besides, politics produce this normalization of regulation that we live within society at large. So I try to address the feeling of being consumed in social contract. I'm gonna go next one, the last one. So apart from drawing and sculpturing, I mentioned I conceptualize my body as a material to feel embedded in the concept and the story, and that makes the image for audience kind of readable. So I like the way German psychologist Erich Fromm consider society to be the creation of the individual and the individual to be creation of society. So that strikes me to keep my eyes open to myself and the environment that I'm living. So keep questioning, thinking, and solving in my practice. This work, I conceptualize my feeling of being an outsider, a stateless person, feeling of displacement. So when I've come here, and I think being immigrant imposed to me. And so the things is I use my body placed in the destruction, burnout building. And because I believe that we are living in a war, and the cultural differences I encounter in America, as an Iranian, especially in food and dining experience, highlight the concept of whitewashed food, that I choose spaghetti because it's quite popular, and it symbolized the interconnection of food culture. But here it's considered as a white food. So beside, I feel that being an immigrant imposed to me, I feel I'm living in an open prison as an Iranian passport holder while I'm living here. And generally, I think it's a way I democratize my words through visual element to refer inequality that I'm living, that I'm understanding, even in America. So I talk with my American friends and collaborate with one of the undergraduate students, and then she took this photo, and yeah, and we finished this work. So thank you for giving me time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ninajan. It was a very creative and interesting presentation. Thank you. Before I introduce our next presenter, I just wanted to note that I'm putting the contact information of our presenters in the chat box for you if you're interested to contact them, just in case. Our next speaker is Azadeh Pirazimian. Azadeh is a Toronto-based multidisciplinary artist and art educator who formerly lectured in Iran. In her practice, she explores themes of self-expression, communication, daily resistance, and social injustice through diverse media. Over the years, Azadeh has showcased her works at multiple exhibitions in Iran, Canada, and the Netherlands. Her art has received recognition and awards from Toronto Art Council and Toronto Art Foundation, including RBC Space Award, Newcomer and Refugee Artist Mentorship Grant, and RBC Art Access Fund. Azadeh holds a bachelor's degree in painting and a master's in visual communication from Iran. She is currently pursuing her MFA at the University of Waterloo. Azadeh, the floor is all yours. Azadeh, we can't hear you. Probably you should unmute yourself.
Sorry, it seems that I was talking to myself here. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this great introduction. Yes, I am. I was ready to introduce myself, but you did it. Thank you again. So today I'm going to talk about mark making as a coping mechanism. Since when I decided to have this presentation, it took me a lot of time to think that what approach I'm going to talk. But then I went through my works. I saw that this mark making, this simple act is a very main core at my work since 2009 that I was graduated from university. So I decided to dig into this and then share this experience based on this technique with you. So for this one, I decided to, when I went through my works, I decided to introduce 3 of my main series that I've been doing since 2009, which has started from Iran. When, as I said, I was graduated from my master degree in visual communication in Tehran. So, and then the other one that I thought that's a very core in my experiences, in my mark making experiences and drawing, is the Around series, which is something that I've done, like this series I've done based on my immigration experiences here to Canada. And then the third series that I would like to share is the series that's called Voices, which is an ongoing series that right now I'm doing. It's a multidisciplinary series, including ceramics and drawing, and recently I'm adding some video pieces to it. But in this presentation, I am, as I mentioned, I mostly am focusing on this act of mark making as a core technique in my work. So I just picked those part of the work, and then I'm going to share with you. So in the beginning, I start with giving a small, short brief about what this mark making means to me, and then how it works. As you see in this image, is just one detail of one of the pieces from the Had Not Read the News that I will introduce it later. So it's this series, and then the next series is just like with all of the works, it's with fine liner, the finest fine liner that I could find. So it's so repetitive and it's so intense, and then you see the texture is just because it is again when you go through the tensions, you need something to be focused and repeat. So all of this series that I am talking to you, as I mentioned, is just the core, or based on simple act of hatching and mark making, hoping to cope and process difficult time in order to understand their complexities. So mark making is the simple action of producing marks on the surfaces, which I've discovered the profound power of this fundamental act as old as humanity itself, dating back to the cave paintings, which has been a substantial means of expression throughout history. So mark making has been a primarily mode of our species' capacity for material signification and creative material engagement. So for me, mark making actually goes beyond the simple act of producing marks on surfaces. It's a deeply personal and cathartic process, allowing me to confront the complexities. Do you see this works? That all of them are just like these works are small, as you see they're 8 in 8 inch, so they're so details, and with these fine liners, it's all about sitting in a corner and being focused and just trying to understand and cope with that situation. So so I utilize this mark making as a means to express and channelize my pain. Pain is when we think about it, it is personal, but at the same time, it's a universal human experiences. So for me, it's very important that I spend a lot of time to pay attention to this aspect of mine, and then just on trying to understand what is happening, what is it, what, how, why, and then constantly digging it into that. So it's just like I use it to channel through this process, and the act of mark making actually, which I found a profound way to communicate my emotions and experiences. So as I mentioned, it's just a very repetitive, I constantly repeating. So the repetitive action of hatching a technique I often employ becomes some sort of, can't say healing, but helps me to understanding and practice that which allow me to confront the process, the difficult moment in this my personal life, as well as all of these atrocities happening in the world. In fact, each mark on canvas becomes a conduit for my emotion, a silent yet a strong language that convey what words sometimes cannot do it. So in my work, I actually translate my pain into these pieces, transforming it into a tangible presentation of this toughness toward processing and moving forward. These marks on the canvases are not just lines and shapes, they're a testament to resilience. So, as I mentioned, I would like to start with this series. They had not read the news, which I started it from 2009. There are this 7 and 10 inches small drawing, all done with fine liner on papers. The reason that I was doing this small size is because I really needed to find myself in that fragile situation in a very secure and safe space. So I needed to be focused. So these works are so small, but at the same time, all of these small details actually do not allow me to go even further. So this series began to a political disappointment after the presidential election in 2009 in Iran. So as a fresh young university graduate, like other young people in the country, hoping to participate in bringing change in society, I actively tried to engage in civil acts such as voting. However, this disappointment after releasing the result of this so-called election in the favor of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad as a president created a big political shift in my mind, because we hope that someone else going to come and reform and help us to change the society. That was something that I was thinking at that moment. So this moment created a big political shift in my mind, and I recognized that the liberty that I have been promised is not possible through this corrupted regime. So as an artist, the first reaction was taking refuge to my notebooks in order to express myself in a very simple and accessible way. It's just a piece of paper, one pen, and then go to corner on your desk or whatever, even the bus stop or even subway or metro, which we say in Iran, metro stations, and then just express yourself through this little marks and hatches. So making this little miniature size illustration by hatching on a regular basis everywhere that I could just grab that pen and leave a trace in the hopes of just trying to understand that situation. So the result of this series actually become was a poetry book, which I've done it in 3 different languages. It was in English, French, and Farsi, because I finished it here in Canada. So, but it's never been published. It's just there. So the result is that book, which I like to share the experience, like the story behind this specific piece. This piece now is in a private collection. I sold it in a Toronto Outdoor Art Fair in 2017. So the piece refers to my father when I was like young, and then still I had hope through that system. My father was who was a very active political and constantly digging through this systems, and for sure he was political active in the before revolution. So he constantly was trying to tell me that the system doesn't work, because he was aware of that all of that aspects. But here you see that but I, as a young person with hope for future, didn't reject all the time. So which unfortunately now is not live, that I say, hey Dad, I hope I could hear you. But again, it's an experience that I needed to pass it to. So here I just wanted to share the story here. The chickens, the poems for this piece is: the chicken suppose the ground is safe, which is the chicken just referring to this me didn't read the news, it's not aware of the situation, and then which I'm just illustrating the danger that might be around it that I don't know. Just like to share this story behind this with you. And then the second, the other series that I would like is important for me because it is being created right after my immigration to Canada. I feel so when you immigrate, you lose so many things. So many things are taken away from you: your family, your friends, your job, your language, the things that you have been deeply rooted in your being, in your existence, the being that you feel shallow without them. So this again, I somehow sheltered in this technique, and I just went to my comfort zone and then started to mark make and hatching, which I should confess that dealing with this separation needed a very tremendous power and understanding every single moment of it. So on the first year of my immigration, experience was, I can say it was a total chaos. My emotions were in a constant swing. There was a need to understand this unstable and chaotic feelings. I need to find my rhythm first. So this series, they are around, came out of as a response to this need. So again, like before, what I was doing for the previous series, they had not read the news. I grabbed a pen and a small notebook and got out of my tiny apartment in Toronto to actually because at that moment, the accessibility is very important. So I needed to have things that I already have. So the pen, the paper, and then any accessible space around nearby. So nature always creates a comfort zone for me. So I understand that I understand this language because I also been raised in north of Iran, always was always surrounded by greenery. So I understood that the nature, the trees, anything that has root in nature can helps me to understand. So I use it as an excuse to communicate with my environment. So sitting and trying to see and draw anything around me, a tree, a leaf, a moving shade, a little squirrel wandering on the grass, a teeny tiny existence around, anything could help me to understand and cope with this transition. It actually was able to provide a very high quality moment for me to process, to understand, and to cope. So the next series that I would like to share is Voices, which is, as mentioned, it's an ongoing series that I am sharing only the portion of the drawing of it with that. So it's the end of the year of 2023. You already went through a lot of pain and grief with what happened to Gina, Masa Amini, and the people that you love back in Iran during the Women Life Freedom Uprising. You witness a lot of blood, bodies torn apart, families mourning for their youngest. You are so far from this, watching through this little window in your device. You feel the pain and accumulation of the screams. They're grand. They're so grand. They're not able even to be fit into words. This is how this silence conquer every corner. So what I can do at this moment, as an artist that already have this, I've recognized that, okay, you have this is the only strategy that, like, you can go and shelter, and then you might find like a way to at least, not saying healing again, because the wounds always are there, at least to cope and try to adjust. You get out and you run into your safe space, which is your studio. You walk on your canvas, and what you do is immersing into your graphite, wandering on the blank, leashing the fear, the pencil whispers on the paper, exploring shades, tones, tints, tapping the hatches, sharpening the tip, the pencil whisper on the paper, following the lines, wrestling with forms, gazing with obsession, the pencil whispers on the paper, hunting the lights, catching the darks, swallowing the instant, the pencil whispers on the paper.
Azadeh, just letting you know that if you intended for sound to come through with this video, we can't hear the sound.
Sorry, you don't hear the sound?
No, we don't. And when you were
Okay.
sharing, you should have shared the sound originally with your presentation. Otherwise, it doesn't come through.
It's okay. So I prefer just share the video itself without the sound. It's okay. It was 1 minute. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Azadeh, for sharing your remarkable works with us, and I hope you can soon publish your book. They're not reading the news, I guess. And our next speaker is Termeh Qazi. Termeh Qazi, an Iranian-Canadian textile artist, seamlessly blends traditional craftsmanship with contemporary techniques, creating immersive experiences. With a background in science and a bachelor's in material art and design, she weaves emotional tapestries inspired by sensory connections. As a teaching assistant in art history at OCAD University and a master's candidate in fine art, she dreams of transcending boundaries with her art. Featured in numerous group exhibitions, her research or her recent works focus on the degradation of natural resources, unraveling possibilities through sculptural wearables and decor. Her portfolio seamlessly combines traditional craftsmanship, Iranian motifs, and a diverse color palette, contributing to public awareness. Tamajan, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. As an interdisciplinary textile artist, I see myself as a maker and designer, following the same practices I have had during the years after my bachelor in microbiology in Iran. I was always attending different art and craft classes, and eventually I found myself in different courses and classes regarding different techniques in fiber and textile art. Okay, now I share my screen. Bear with me. You see that?
No, yeah, right now we can see it.
You
Very
can
good.
see that? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, I'm going to talk about two different directions in my practices. The first one, which is mostly focusing on my memories, is like the subject of my undergrad practices. And the series I'm going to share with you is my mini-series from undergrad program in material art and design, focusing in textiles at OCAD University, which I got graduated in, excuse me, April 2022. Knitting memories. In the mesmerizing tapestry of my artistic journey, a mini-series unfolds as a profound reflection where the echoes of memory intricately entwine with the threads of immigration. The symphony of my memories. Woven together in the transformative language of art, this symphony of memories within the verbal collection becomes a melodic composition seeking to resurrect fragments of my past across various phases, a visual symphony before, during, and after my journey. Each piece stands as a lyrical note, encapsulating not only tangible memories, but also the intangible sense of my emotion. Metaphors in stitches. The act of knitting transforms into a poetic dance, each stitch a carefully chosen word, a metaphorical expression of the struggles, doubts, failures, and triumphs etched into the fabric. As fingers delicately explore the garments, it becomes an immersive journey through visual poetry, seamlessly woven into the very fabric of my narrative. The design philosophy. At the heart of the design philosophy lies a conceptual approach, intricately weaving the tapestry of my immigration experiences and their deep influence on reshaping my memory. This involves a deliberate engagement with the emotions felt throughout my lived experiences, presenting a design that transcends mere practicalities, explores emotions woven into the very essence of each needed piece. knitting machine as a poetic podium. A conclusion, a conscious choice resonating with the rhythmic dance of childhood, hand knitting practices fuse seamlessly with modern technologies. The machine performative ritual transforms each stitch into a poetic line, a dance across the fabric that unites to create a wearable piece, a silent conversation inviting touch, feel, and immersion into the unfolding story. Chromatic echoes. The color palette is carefully curated as a symphony inspired by vibrant hues in Iranian tiles and carpets. Royal blue takes center stage, a regal nod to majestic tiles, while vibrant orange pays homage to nomadic weaving. Beyond mere aesthetics, these colors unfold into a tactile symphony, a dance of fine vanilla and coarse royal blue on the skin, mirroring the dualities of life. Artistic expression. In the intricate fabric of my artistic expression, the geometric silhouettes transcend conventional design, serving as custodians of my unfiltered and sincere attributes. Each angle and line stand as a silent sentinel, testifying not merely to the garments, but to the core of my character. The textural surface transforms into a poetic canvas that represents the enduring impact of memories on my psyche, a manifestation of experiences that sculpt, infuse, and manifest my personality. Living Symphony. In its crescendo, the miniseries reveals itself not as a collection of garments, but as a living, breathing performance. It is my journey from the vibrant streets of my childhood in Iran to the welcoming landscapes of Canada that is intricately woven knit by knit, transcending the boundaries of words. Lyrics of tradition. With the use of wool, the miniseries ties in with Iran's rich carpet weaving tradition. There is more to it than materiality. It represents a lyrical dialogue between historical aesthetics and contemporary expression. Okay.
Yep, there we go.
Sorry about that. Sorry, everyone.
No,
Thanks
that's
for
okay.
your patience.
And if you can just stay on each slide for a second, that would be great. Thank you.
What do you mean? I'm
You
staying
don't,
on it.
yeah, don't just click fast.
No, I didn't want to do. It wasn't intentionally. I just wanted to stop on the right one, but it didn't help me. It just jumped through the end. Anyway, thanks for your patience. Okay, tonic. The Tonic's Odyssey unfolds as a personal journey needed on the machine, expressing a non-literal pathway from Tehran to Toronto. Yarns of diverse thicknesses and colors, twisted pattern into a tale of anticipated and unforeseen moments. The small holes on the sleeves, akin to punctuations in a poem, signify the challenges faced along the way. Meanwhile, the transparent sections on the torso, resembling geometric cutouts, serve as substantial evidence of the emotional baggage left behind in Iran. This piece transcends its fabric confines, transforming into a metaphor that encapsulates the healing of wounds, the adoption of new perspectives, and the ever-evolving nature of personal narratives. The interplay of yarns and non-linear shapes mirror the life's complexities, which goes beyond mere garments. Scared face. The scared's ode to joy unfolds as a vibrant testament to the euphoria of my Iranian childhood. With whimsical patterns and joyful hues, it becomes a poetic canvas, capturing the dance of geometric lines that seamlessly metamorphose upon moving to Canada. The knitting machine, employing intarsia and rehanging techniques, serve as a brush painting the canvas of my joyful memory. The skirt is more than simply fabric. It is a lyrical journey where my childhood memories are woven with the landscape of Canada. Short-piece pants. The pant's ascent and descent is a visual narrative of my journey with ladder patterns gracefully unfolding on each side, symbolizing the undulating path of struggles and achievements. These patterns become a dance of contrasting geometrical shapes. The choice of vanilla and royal blue yarn serves as a tactile metaphor, mirroring the complexities of life's dualities and creating a compelling visual representation of the steps taken in my ongoing journey. Scarf piece. As an enigmatic addition, the complementary scarf masks my face in photos, offering a silent commentary on the rigid regulations that dictate women's bodies and hair should be covered. Despite its basic and simple appearance, this accessory transcends its purpose as it acknowledges the complex expectations of society. Furthermore, it serves as an embodiment of opposition to the mandatory imposition of covering hair with neutral colors, which makes the viewer ignore the female identity as an individual. With my knitwear, geometric silhouettes emerge as silent champions. In this way, each line and curve constitute one element of a grand poem that echoes themes of immigration, memory, and the alchemy of art. My stitching extends the invitation to go beyond watching, but feel and trace the contours of a record that transcends mediums. Touching, connecting, and embarking on a personal journey are the eloquent messages of this mini-series. You will discover a reflection of the exquisite beauty that arises when memory and reconstruction are woven together. Now, this is our second part of my presentation regarding all my expanding on the climate issue concept that I follow with the same fiber and textile art studio practices during my MFA program at OCAD University, interdisciplinary program. I blend imaginative exploration with a plea for increased awareness of climate changes in a climate challenges in a world precariously perched on the edge of ecological imbalance. Humanity's inherently hazardous role in nature is reflected in these installations, which shed intense light on the far-reaching consequences of climate issues. By using my imagination, I conceive speculative designs that expose the potential ugliness our planet may face if decisive action is not taken. I concluded 3 different works in this theme. This is the first one. This is the rebirth piece. My first installation on the rebirth theme is about raising public awareness about climate change. Beyond awareness, I sought to introduce a metaphorical concept using a specific variation of moss to create a textural surface grounded in eco-friendly elements. It is intended to prompt the audience to contemplate moss as a living resource symbolizing resilience. The macroorganism moss grows on unexpected surfaces and adapts to varying humidities. By blending moss and merino wool, I created a mixed media artwork inspired by nature to point out the overuse of natural resources and unsustainable consumption, which has caused significant damage to our planet. Eventually, unexpected disasters result from this neglect. Hence, my installation emphasizes how bio-based materials ought to be used responsibly without overusing them or adding synthetic additives. Moss's adaptability and growth are metaphors for the human development of innovative materials and methods. As part of my quest for sustainability, I plan to explore and create biotextile samples in my future projects. Second piece, again following the same theme, Rebirth from Ruins is the title of this work, which embodies the fusion of human vision and imaginative exploration. It serves as a stark reminder of the environmental damage caused by human actions by portraying a subdued color palette and uneven textures. Simultaneously, it highlights the potential for nature in human innovation to avert further degradation. The blue and green spots symbolize life and renewal, emphasizing the delicate balance required for a sustainable coexistence. Stitching hope on Earth's canvas. This work, installation work was part of a group exhibition we just had in Grad Gallery during February in OCAD Department of IAMD. In a world teetering on the precipice of an ecological crisis, my third installation of mixed media illustrates a poignant reflection on the extreme impact of climate issues and humanity's perilous role in nature's delicate balance. This work is an amalgamation of wood pieces, plant-based fibers, and wool, which speaks to our symbiotic relationship with the planet and our interconnectedness. Wood represents our ecosystem's resilience and vulnerability. Plant-based fibers symbolize nature's bounty, and wool evokes hope despite imposing shadows. Diverse techniques, including knitting, coiling, embroidery, and felting, create a visual tapestry metaphorically speaking to human impact on the planet. Frayed edges and unraveling elements reflect collective neglect in the embroidered thread. In this piece, graphic allegory is used to depict an imagined future Earth. Through these textile manifestations, viewers are prompted to confront the threads and fibers we are recklessly tearing from the fabric of the Earth's landscape. This work aims to be more than an aesthetically compelling piece. It is a call to action, a speculative design that prompts contemplation of the repercussion of our choices and advocates for a more harmonious and sustainable coexistence with the earth. These collection pieces transcend mere visual appeal, transforming into a collective call for proactive engagement, a conceptual design aimed at inspiring reflection on the consequences of our decisions. It advocates for the vision of a balanced and sustainable coexistence with the earth, while urging viewers to become catalysts for creation of fundamental changes through protecting our future generations, besides saving nature and its resources. Thank you so much for your patience with me and bearing with me during technical issues. And thanks for
That's all good.
participation.
Thank you so much, Terma-Jan, for sharing your splendid works with us.
Thank you.
Truly amazing. And our last speaker, last but not least, is Behnaz Fatemi. Behnaz Fatemi, an Iranian artist who relocated to Canada in 2018, earned her Bachelor of Fine Arts with honors in studio art in Iran. She is finalizing her MFA at the University of Waterloo. As an interdisciplinary artist focusing on drawing, installation, and performance, Fatemi explores diaspora, identity, and trauma through the lens of an Iranian woman, employing mark-making as a healing process. Her works have been showcased internationally, including in Iran, Canada, and the US. Fatemi has been recognized as the Kitchener Artist in Residence for 2020 to 2021, awarded in the Emerging Artist category by the Arts Awards Waterloo region, and selected as an artist for the Kafka Biennale. And Behnaz Jan, we're all ears.
Thank you so much. Just let me, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, perfect. Can you see and hear me well?
Perfectly.
Okay, great. Just give me a second. There we go. Okay. I'm going to, okay. So thank you so much for inviting me. First of all, I would like to thank you or express my gratitude to Dr. Elahé Omidyar Mir-Djalali, Professor Mahmoud Tawakkoli Targhi, Leila Shabnam, and Negar Jan for their invaluable support in organizing this event. I hope I've acknowledged everyone who worked behind the scenes to make today's event possible. So I just set the timer because I know we don't have that much time. My name is Behnaz Fatemi, and I'm nearing the completing of my Master of Fine Arts at the University of Waterloo. My thesis exhibition is just around the corner from April 18 to May 5th at the University of Waterloo Art Gallery. I'll share details on my Instagram for those who are interested. I was born and raised in Isfahan, a city in Iran rich in history and art. Then I moved to Rasht, known for its vibrant life and nature, for my graduate studies. And then before moving to Canada, I lived in Tehran. So this journey has deeply influenced my work and perspective as an artist and as a human. Given our limited time today, and considering the presentation is roughly 20 minutes, I'll concentrate on my artistic journey since beginning my MFA in September 2022. I'll explore the evaluation of my work, share insight into my practice, and highlight two specific projects that mirror my experiences as an Iranian woman and the concept that deeply resonated with me. So I'm gonna give you a general background about my artwork. To mention that the presentation is chronological in terms of like showing the artworks. Faced with the challenges that I had, I found myself compelled to leave my homeland for Canada in 2018 in search of what I hoped would be a normal life. However, this move, rather than simplifying my narrative, added complex layers to my identity. Here, I grappled with a duality, physical disconnection from my homeland, contrast with a deep psychological tether to it, placing me in... Pardon me?
Everything's fine.
Oh, okay. I heard a voice.
Yeah, we can hear you. No, we can hear you.
Okay, nice. Placing me in a transition space between two worlds. This duality is further complicated by the trauma of receiving distressing news from Iran, a poignant reminder of the struggles I and many others like me faced in the diaspora. The stress, pain, and trauma of confronting issues such as violence, of human rights, social injustice, coupled with the challenges of navigating the in-betweenness of diaspora life in Canada, have formed the core of my master research at the University of Waterloo. Here, I explore the intersection of human rights, diaspora, and trauma theory, using art as a tool for healing, resilience, and empowerment. My work during this period is centered around drawing and mark making, enhanced by the incorporating of diverse medium such as sound and video. So I would like to talk about these very special moments in my life. One aspect that significantly influenced my practice was my trip to London, UK last summer, thanks to the Kate and Win Shantz International Research Scholarship, a fantastic opportunity available to all master students in the Department of Fine Arts at the University of Waterloo. So I had the privilege to travel to London and work alongside with Diogo, an artist, and his wife Joanna, a curator and writer. And I was spending about a month living with them. I primarily assisted Diego in his studio, collaborating side by side on his creation. Diego and Joanna's focus is on drawing, and the concept of performance drawing opened up a new perspective for me, enriching my understanding and helping me refine my approach to drawing. I have a lot to talk about regarding this experience, but because of the time, I prefer to just move on to the next slide. I'm gonna talk about a bit about like my studio methodology. My practice is grounded in experimental process and the collaboration with materials, drawing inspiration from Natalie Lovelace's concept of research creation, which aims to kind of bridge the gap between theory and practice. My studio functions as a dual space, both physical and conceptual, dedicated to exploration. According to Lovelace, the creative process is a form of inquiry. The act of making not only fosters new insight and understanding, but also facilitates a dialogue between theory and practice. This dynamic interplay enrich my artworks, making it accessible and engaging to both academic and public audiences. Sorry. Okay. So, as a project-based artist, my work is thematic, deeply rooted in extensive research. For instance, my series on grief uses Chinese rice paper to symbolize the fragility of loss. The title of this work is "We Will Lose Our Beloveds." In Farsi, ما عزیزانمان را از دست خواهیم داد. For this work, I used the technique of vector laser cutting on Chinese rice paper. I wanted to use laser cut because the act of cutting, burning through the paper with a laser conveys a sense of harshness on the fragile rice paper, akin to violence, mirroring the profound and often brutal impact of loss. This duality captures the enduring essence of life and serves as a physical embodiment of grief. The fragility and transience of rice paper symbolizing the vulnerability of life and relationships, but also allowing grief to be metamorphosed into art. So in, during the tragic kind of event that we all Iranian are kind of facing since September 2022, I experienced a personal loss as well on top of that with the passing of my grandfather on February 2023. This event confronted me with one of my greatest fear since immigration to Canada, the fear of losing my beloved while being far away my homeland. So this body of work started when my grandfather passed away, a tragic moment when I could not return to my country due to political circumstances of experiencing exile. So this piece is, the total is like around 84 pieces. This intentional decision was made to kind of honor my grandfather's age. Moreover, this work I divided into two linguistic language, 42 in English and 42 of them in Farsi, which is my native language, alongside my immigration one, which is English. This work is intended to visually and emotionally remind us of the importance of life. Utilizing two languages, this work transcends cultural and linguistic barriers, underscoring our shared human fragility and universal vulnerability of human existence. The fallen laser cut letters on the floor symbolizing separations, on the tears of solitary grief. The hanging papers contrast with the fallen cutout representation, both the enduring and ephemeral aspects of existence. They reflect the fragmentation of what was once a whole. The suspended papers, in contrast to the scattered cutouts below, embody the coexistence of the lasting and fleeting into our lives. I'm just gonna quickly check the, time. Okay, I have more time. Perfect. This is a detail of the work, as you can see in the picture. The next artwork that I like to talk about called it's dance, resistance, and solidarity. In the heart of Iran, where the rhythm of life is often stifled by the weight of cultural and political restrictions, dance merges not just an art form, but as a profound statement of resistance. The very act of dancing, especially for women, is a silent rebellion against the chain of social norms. It is a testament to the resilience of countless Iranian women like myself who have embraced dance as a form of activism. Public dance in this context is visual representation of emotion that is intended to speak to souls, challenging norms, and unite communities. This is why dance has been forced within my work as a way to connect and honor these continuing discourses. The political landscape of dance in Iran is fraught with tension. Dance, particularly for women in public spaces, has been deemed haram, forbidden. This prohibition stands as a stark reminder of the many fundamental rights that have been stripped away. The Women Life Freedom Movement in Iran exemplifies the spirit of resistance. This is a network of Iranian women who are fighting for gender equality, human rights, and an end of the compulsory hijab law, and it's become a symbol where dance transcends its artistic boundaries, become a poetic form of protest. So amid this background, dance also become my refuge, my voice, my powerful act of defiance against the chains that sought to bind me. During the movement, a heart-wrenching incident occurred. Kian Pirfalak, a 9-year-old innocent child, was killed in an attack by government security force in Izeh, Khuzestan province, an area where the Bakhtiyari culture is dominant. During Kian's funeral, a video surfaced capturing him as he tested his handmade boat in the name of the god of rainbows. This video deeply moved me, especially when juxtaposed with the Bakhtiyari people's traditional dance during Kian's ceremony. In Bakhtiyari culture, a minority group in Iran, the passing of a young individual is mourned with older women singing sad poems known Gagira. Through dance, I found solace, a realm where I could challenge social norms that aimed to push me to the marginalized. So, which is captured in my video performance titled Dancing in the Name of the God of Rainbows. Drawing from my ancestral roots in this culture, I channeled my emotions of anger, sadness, and anxiety, which had been building since September 2022, into dance. My body swinging to the rhythms of my heritage, become a vessel narrating tales of resistance, hope, and undying thirst for freedom. Through this performance work, which has been mediated through video, I aim to pay homage to the life lost, recognizing resilience of those fighting for fundamental human rights, and acknowledge the collective grief of a nation, In a similar context, Isaac Julian's What Freedom Is to Me, a video performance made in 2023, exhibited at the Tate Modern, also incorporated dance as a strategy to unravel the complexities of trauma. Julian's work emphasizes that dance is not only bodily performance, but is also a language of political lyricism, capable of expressing anger, sorrow, and hope, where dance emerged as a powerful medium of expression and resistance. Okay. So for the conclusion, I would like to finish the presentation with this paragraph taken from Talking Back, written by Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks explored the feminist need to break silences. She discussed how representing ourselves or oneself, the difference between public and private life, the pain caused by oppression, and the significant, sorry, just give me a second.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna, should I repeat it again or?
Yeah, maybe just
Let
last sentence, yeah.
Sure. So she discusses how representation oneself, the difference between public and private life, the pain caused by oppression, and the significant challenges Black women face when trying to speak up are key topics in these discussions. Hooks highlight the importance for all women, especially Black and marginalized women, to share their experiences and break the silence. She points out that staying silent doesn't offer protection, and that speaking out, even if there is a fear of being ignored or unwelcomed, is a crucial act of resistance. That idea of speaking up, as a Hook shows, is important in changing the feminist movement. It involves facing the fear of telling the truth to those in power, a necessary step for women aiming to challenging the system that holds them back. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Behnazjan, for this touching and illuminating presentation. And I would like to, thank you. I'd like to invite the audience to put their questions in the chat box or raise their hands and ask their questions to our wonderful speakers. Okay, so we got a question here. Nazaninja, would you like to unmute and ask the question yourself? Or you'd like me to ask the question? Okay, so Nazanin has asked the first presenter, who's Arma. My question is related to rethinking about the Iranian revolutionary subject of 1979 and its relationship with Iranian individuals in the contemporary Iranian society, as if another revolutionary subject is being born. How can we establish a dialogue with this new revolutionary subject through art and represent it in works of art? Maybe even criticize it, since it seems that there's a melancholic relationship between these two subjects and the past and present, as beautifully stated by Arma.
Yeah, thank you, Nazanin, for your question. I mean, my interest in the revolutionary masses of the 1979, it was really a way for me to understand the mechanisms of mass formation and the collective thought processes of the crowds that emerged in 1979. But I don't really see, I mean, I've been watching the recent protests very closely, and I've been trying to find patterns between what in my presentation I talked about Hannah Arendt and Gustav Le Bon, and I've been thinking about how their notions of crowds or masses might apply to the more contemporary, to the recent protests, and I can't really find any relationship between the two, because the masses that I was interested in really talks about how they emerge from a atomized, isolated society, and then it leads to the establishment of a totalitarian state. So personally for me, trying to apply the recent protests to my artistic practice, the way I'm approaching it is through visualizing online data in order to understand lots of information that are out there but are hidden because of the internet shutdowns. So that's the way I approach it artistically. Not sure if I answered your question, but.
Thank you very much, Arma. And any other questions from the audience?
You can read the comment, Nagarjan.
Well, there are no questions yet in the comments.
From Mikhail Fischer.
Sorry?
There is a comment from Michael Fisher. You can just read it.
Yeah, Michael's thanking everyone for the brilliant presentation and the illuminating discussions. Indeed, everyone, such a great job.
And if Professor Tawakkoli has any comment or suggestion, feedback, that would be great. And then we can end up this discussion for today.
Professor Tawakkoli,
I just wanted to say that Michael Fisher actually is an anthropologist of Iranian Revolution, a leading scholar of Iranian Revolution, and we are grateful that he has participated in this gathering. And I also want to take the opportunity of first thanking the Iranian Studies Student Forum for organizing this spectacular gathering of young and promising artists, and my gratitude to Arma, Yari, Nina Rastgar, Azadeh, Pirazimian, Terme Qazi, and Behnaz Fatemi for sharing your really fascinating experience and what really drives you to produce artwork. I think from that point of view, this panel has been exceptional, and thank you for joining us, and we look forward to organizing similar forums for artists to come together and share their experiences. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you Leila Muslimi, and thank you Nagarjan for outstanding moderation.
thank you so much, Professor Tawakkoli, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Leila Jan, for organizing this session, and thank you, Shabnam Jan, for helping us here. My deep gratitude to everyone and for your presence. Thank you. Please, Leila Jan.
Thank you so much for everything. And this is like, it's a great opportunity to bring students and talented people like you guys, and to get together and share ideas. And I hope to see you in the future as a great and greatest artist in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have a great
Night. Take care. Bye.
Yeah. Have a great day.